Hi, it's Andrea Foulkes. It's the end of June 2014. This video is going to be of use even if you're not listening to it in 2014. I'm in my beach chalet in Cornwall. I'm going to talk about the ego today because from a expanded consciousness, you've got all this head sort of intellectual, what I call intellectual spirituality, which is, oh, the ego is dissociative consciousness. And kind of it is, but really what the ego is when you break it down, what is the ego? Well, the ego's, I trigger people's egos. Part of being an intuitive visionary, part of being able to read timelines, read your pain body, read your emotional energy field, is I will trigger your ego. And the ego is the one that goes, someone might say something to you, not just me, gosh, people trigger your ego all the time. It's like, it's that snarly answer back, that defensive, that, that's the ego. It's the ego that defends the reality, even when there's the infinite consciousness part of you that knows that what you've just said is actually either a lie, defensive, or rude to the person who's actually just said the truth. For example, imagine if you're seriously overweight and someone says, hey, you might want to lose weight, and you go, no, I don't need to lose weight, or you don't know how hard it is for me, or this is defensive. We know it's true. We know that maybe what the person is saying is maybe coming from a place of love. Maybe we don't like the way they said the truth to us, but often we know that it's true, and the ego, which you perceive, is the one that wants to defend the reality. But when we look at what is the ego, okay, from 20,000 hours of therapy with people over 14 years, full on, full time, in your face, what I've come to realize the ego to be is the ego is really just made up of three things, really. The ego is either earthbound spirits, entities attached to you, and a lot of the work that I do is spirit releasement. I haven't really spoken in videos too much about that. But it is a huge part of the work that I do with people, is releasing entities. And entities are the voices that come forth from people. They are earthbound consciousness, so they've attached to you from somewhere in the ether. Okay, they're earthbound because when their soul left their body, they fragmented their energy field, and they're like droplets, like baubles off a Christmas tree, or droplets of rain. They've hung around on the earth plane, and then they have attached to people's luminous energy fields, and over time they've maybe taken up more of your energy field. But the reason they are attached to you is because you haven't dealt with your emotion that's made you a cohesion to the entity. So when I say you haven't dealt with your emotion, you haven't dealt with the backlog of your wounded inner child from this lifetime, which is from being in the womb to present day. So there are holes in your energy field, so they've come in on that. You may have an ancestral pattern that you've come in on as well, which means your energy fields got disrupted. Or, past lives they've come in on. They've known you from other lifetimes, and you still have conflict in your energy field on the subconscious mind level with emotions. So the entities hook in on that emotion. So the ego is often entities, often fragmented aspects of your own, we say inner child, but inner child, as I say, is anything from being in the womb to present day. So the child wants to defend its reality. It wants to defend what it knows, and it isn't always right. It feels hurt, it feels painful, so it defends its reality. And then you have an ancestral pattern. Sometimes you even have ancestors attached, throwing up false past lives, the same as entities can throw up false past lives. They're often ancestors' past lives, entities' past lives. So we need to clear the ancestral timeline, clear the entities, before you can really truly know for sure they're definitely your past lives. And you need to have the facility in the middle of all this to take the person back to the day the entity attached, which 8 times out of 10 the entity will have attached in this lifetime. Sometimes they reattach, sometimes when they see you reincarnate, because they remained on the earth plane, so they're like a magnetic vibrational match to your energy field. So they come in and they reattach when you reincarnate, when there becomes a hole in your energy field, emotional energy field, for them to come in. And we're creating holes in our energy fields all the time when we can't forgive. When we can't forgive ourselves, we create holes in our energy field. When we can't forgive other people, we create holes in our energy fields. When we can't love truly, we create holes in our energy field. When we're angry, we create holes in our energy field. When we're angry towards ourselves, we create holes in our energy field. When we're extremely fearful, we create holes in our energy field. When we're extremely fearful of our own power, we create holes in our energy field. So everything about evolving consciousness is about clearing up the holes in your luminous energy field so that you can be in this energy field that isn't being jerked around by other energies outside of yourselves. The same with empathy. Yes, it's really wonderful to be empathic and compassionate towards people. Yes, you can be empathic and compassionate towards people without empathizing their energy field and taking on their energy field as if it's your own. Like, you're so able to read their energy field, it almost becomes your energy field. But that again comes from usually what you find in this lifetime is I usually take people back to a day they gave their power away to a primary carer in childhood, which would be, on average, it's the main parent who's looking after them, or the main guardian who's looking after you. You give your power away to them, usually in childhood, usually before you're 8. I noticed people decided that the primary carer's happiness is more important than your own. So from the solar plexus, there's a power goes to the primary carer. And you've had to do that as a child because most of us at this point in Earth's evolution have come through a patriarchal period in history, and we've come through dysfunctional parenting. Even though that parent may have done the best that they know how to do, it will still be dysfunctional parenting because there'll be a power game playing out. And for your basic survival, i.e. to be fed and clothed and watered, you've had to make them happy rather than yourselves. Often I take people back and we go back to the day you gave your power away. And we see it, the child decided mummy or daddy's happiness was more important than their own. And I've told this story many times. It can be something as infinitesimal as mummy saying, listen, I've put these new shoes on you today and you're going to school and you're 5 and I don't want you getting them dirty or messing them up. And so you go to school, and I've seen this is a true story with a client. I took him back to the day when he gave his power away, and he's there and he wants to play with the other children, but the other children are all roughing and tumbling about and getting their shoes dirty. And he realized that if he got his shoes dirty, he'd make mummy unhappy. So he decided not to fulfill his own passion, which was to go and play with the other children and to make mummy happy and keep his shoes clean. And so many people, they may be an adult now and they're still doing the same thing. They're making somebody else happy rather than themselves. And sometimes the mother or the father or the primary guardian has passed over to the spirit world, and you're still tied into a timeline trying to make them happy. So you need to go back and heal that. And so, this is why the ego gets triggered around, it gets messed around, and you can give it all kinds of intellectual names that you want for the ego. But the ego really is healing the fragmented aspects of your soul through the timelines of existence. On this planet, you've been incarnating for many, many times, and you've left beliefs and thoughts from previous timelines, past lives, which emotionally are still happening in the now. So that's why when people say past lives don't exist, yes, they do exist, but they don't really exist in the past. They exist in the now, because you're still being jerked around energetically by your thoughts and beliefs that are still in your energy field now. in the now without closure. It's not so much what happens in the past life. You know, what is so important is your thoughts, beliefs, and what you learned and the decisions you made as your soul left your body. That's what you take with you from another timeline into the now. If that point where your soul leaves your body, you can let it all go and go, who cares? I'm letting it all go. Poof! You won't take that with you. But we don't know how to die doing that. We get distracted. We don't take our consciousness with us. We haven't educated people yet how to die taking their consciousness with them. And of course, religion doesn't really want you to know all this stuff. And, you know, the patriarchal system has led you astray. The government has led you into thinking all this stuff is wooey that I talk about. And mainstream society is governed by those things, so they were told it was woo. And this was all a plan so you wouldn't, you know, reclaim your power until now, because now is the time of the Great Awakening. That was why we all chose to be here for the end of the Mayan long calendar, which was 2012, and that's now why in 2014 a lot of people are exiting left, right and center, because they only had a soul contract to be here for the end of the Mayan calendar, and they fulfilled that, and it was their free will choice to stay longer or to get out of this vibrational grid of planet Earth. And there are many people on timelines on this planet that are just looping the loop on planet Earth. They can't get out of planet Earth. You're a cosmic galactic being. You need to activate your multidimensional self to get out of the loop. But until you really understand what the ego is, understand how important it is to do emotional inner journey work. You know, I created Soul Freedom Therapy, which adds all those facets together: inner child therapy, past life regression, ancestral timeline healing, spirit releasement, you know, and the chakras are all involved in that, because the chakras aren't so much in your body as energetically in your energy field. But you've got to be showing up to do this work, and you have got to put it as your main priority. And of course, there'll be the ego negative voices in your head saying things, even about me, be saying she's a fake, she's a fraud, don't listen to her, shut her up. The same as other spiritual teachers, you know, because the ego wants to judge. The ego wants to keep you in a limited perception of yourself. It doesn't want you to connect with your higher self that is this magnificent being of light. You know, the light, yes, it's great to sun gaze, but the true light is coming from inside you, emanating outwards. And this is the divinity you really need to connect with at this time. Okay, so much love. Have a look at all my other videos. In 2014, if you're listening to it still now, I have a retreat coming up at the Chalice Well in Glastonbury from the 25th to the 27th of July. It would be fantastic to have you there. It's a great investment in your own soul. We have a beautiful vegan chef coming to create food, because that's another thing we need to look at, what we're eating, because that affects our vibration as well and affects our emotions. So do subscribe to my channel, do look at my website, and do look at the link below. Much love for today from Cornwall. Bye for now.